The Blind Tony Story, Book 6, Chapter 1. I was with her every day, and in fact, being with her was my day. And it wasn't just her, it was the children too. They brought out a side of me that I had never known existed before. I had a very deep love for them, and I was quite surprised at the depth of their love for me. Their honesty and openness were truly refreshing, and they lacked that external facade that most adults seem to have. God gave me a perfect family, already made. Ravenisha's roots hailed from Trinidad. She was a cross between Angela Davis, Erica Huggins, Apollonia, a jet centerfold, and Mom, but only on the outside. On the inside, she was strong-willed, self-centered, and overly confident, somewhat conceited. She was very attractive and she knew it, which turned me on a lot. In fact, I enjoyed sicking her on my overly aggressive male associates who would smile in my face and then try to hit on her behind my back. She was too much for most men physically and intellectually, and more times than not, they would be intimidated. But she and I were very much compatible and very much in love. I accepted and raised her children as my own. Her son's name was Alfred, which was perfect. He was like a miniaturized version of me. He was all boys, snakes, snails, and puppy dog tails. I was very proud to have him in my life. I remember him sometimes saying things so profound and seemingly knowledgeable of life's deepest principles and values that he seemed to be a very old man trapped in a child's body. He would sometimes tell people, "Hi, I'm little Tony and big Tony's my dad." And that would make me feel incredibly proud. He was only about 3 years old at this time, and his sister Sarah was about 7. She was one of the most sensitive human beings I've ever known, and I will always love her very much. She had an aura of innocence that surrounded everything she did, yet she was not naive, just sensitive and compassionate. I remember her once crying because Alfred had stepped on a butterfly, and me thinking at that moment that if the whole world had her sense of perception and compassion, there would be no war and no hate. She was truly a mirror of God's willingness to just love. She was as different from Alfred as night is from day, but the combination of the two of them in my life created a balance that I had never known before. Now I was living about a half a block away from where Water lived on 149th Street. I had never taken Ravenisha to my place, but I was at her house every single day. She lived with her mother, and her mother drank a lot. Sometimes that's all she would do, barricade herself in the room and drink. I guess I was still struggling with guilt feelings from hitting my father a long time ago. I had a strong attraction for Ravenisha's mother in a compassionate way. Her and I became very close. Eventually, Ravenisha and I were able to find her a detox in a program upstate where we supported her recovery and visited her as often as we could. I will always remember Ravenisha's mother with a lot of love, Laura. I never got to know Ravenisha's whole story, but I do know she had been married before and also had done a tour of duty in the armed forces. She was highly intelligent, very physical, and had a great sense of humor. We laughed all the time. She believed she could get any man that she chose to, and she was probably right. But my family never really took to her. I guess because she was older than me and had children already. But anyway, Since they didn't accept her, then I felt that they didn't accept me. So I broke off all communication with them until they did. Eventually, they saw that I was very serious about this woman. So we created and maintained an outward sense of closeness that was devoid of any real substance, just protocol. My family have always been down to earth, but as I said earlier, if they didn't accept her, they didn't accept me. I was in love, very much in love with Ravensburg, and life was good. I was still hustling on the tennis courts every day, but things suddenly took a change for the better. One of the people I used to hustle on the courts was named Joseph. We would play a couple of times a week for $30 a set. He never won, but it was always a great battle. Sometimes he and I would play as partners in doubles matches, and we rarely lost. He was a fighter. One day he asked me what I did besides hit tennis balls and why I didn't have a job. I told him that no one would hire me with my past record, and he said that I had too much potential to just throw away hitting tennis balls. So he gave me his business card and told me to call his secretary to set up an appointment for a job interview. I thought he was jobbing, but when I called his office, set up an appointment, and actually showed up to his office for an interview, the first thing I saw was a copy of Black Enterprise magazine on the wall with his picture on the cover as one of the 10 most successful black businessmen in the entire United States. Wow, I was in shock. Joseph had a very important job with Merrill Lynch. He got me a job pushing paper in the dividend department starting at $17.5 a year. He also got me a place to stay in a rooming house. And before too long, I was entirely legit working every day and enjoying it. In fact, I became an overachiever. Once again, a workaholic. Once again, validating myself through my achievements. Merrill Lynch had its own in-house business school, and I took every class that was offered to me. I became the best of the best, and I started Merrill Lynch's first dividend department newsletter. I was also its first editor. I took courses in advanced problem-solving techniques, effective telephone usage, brainstorming, how to conduct a needs analysis. I also submitted a proposal that was accepted and implemented, centralizing the records and research materials, which dramatically reduced the time necessary for DTC reconciliation. Now, DTC stands for the Depository Trust Company, which oversees and is responsible for all securities transactions. Life was good. Rabbi Anisha and I got married, and we moved into our own place on 129th Street and Convent Avenue in Horton, right down the street from City College. We didn't have a big wedding, just the two of us, the kids, her mom, and the justice of the peace. We didn't have a honeymoon, no frills, but every date was a honeymoon, complete with whistles, fireworks, and stars. We were both drinkers and smokers, and we used drugs recreationally on the weekends. But one day, the Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on our door, and we began a regular family Bible study. Eventually, we gave up all drugs, including cigarettes, and we were in regular attendance at the Kingdom Hall. It wasn't long before Ravenisha got pregnant. Life was good.